NASCAR released what it thinks were the top stories of 2012 this week. They had at the top of their list Brad Keselowski winning the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship in the #2 Penske Racing Dodge. That I agree with. It was a great story. A first win for Keselowski, a young, fresh face for the series, and a very first win of a championship nature for Roger Penske. Who'd have thunk that he was in this business 40 years and this was his first championship? Okay, I'll agree on that one. The #2 story that NASCAR had out there as its best of the year was Dale Earnhardt finally winning a race after almost 3 seasons being shut out of the winner's circle. I know he's the most popular driver in NASCAR, but I think there were a few stories more important and more stimulating than that. The one that comes to mind to me right away is the Jeff Gordon-Clint Bowyer incident at Phoenix International Raceway in the second last race of the season. There was Jeff Gordon in the #24 Chevrolet waiting for Bowyer, who he had a hate on for a couple of races, wrecking him deliberately on the second to last lap. And then there was a bench clearing brawl that followed. That made for great TV, and it also made for great ratings for that race. It was never even mentioned as one of the top stories that NASCAR thought of 2012. Maybe he doesn't like fisticuffs in the garage area, but I think the fans do. And also they didn't have another Dale Earnhardt Jr. story was his concussion. Remember, he missed 2 races because of a concussion he suffered at Talladega, which came on the heels of one he didn't report suffering at Kansas Speedway during a testing incident. Well, I think all of those stories are good, but my best was Keselowski and the #2, of course, Gordon and Bowyer. In other NASCAR news, Tony Stewart says thanks but no thanks to Roger Penske to run the double next year. You know, Roger wanted him to drive an Indy car at the Indy 500, then hop a helicopter or a jet, fly to Charlotte, and run the 600 in the evening. It was too much for Tony to think about. After all, he's a team owner now. He is more on his plate than he's ever had before, especially with Danica Patrick joining his team in 2013. We also have other news that Tony Eury Jr. Remember him? He was the crew chief for both Danica and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Nationwide Series and in the Cup Series. Well, he got fired this year from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Motor Racing, and now he's going to be back crew chiefing for David Stremme in the #30 Toyota in the Cup Series. It's going to be interesting to watch how Tony works with a low-budget team. He's always been with teams that had big bucks behind them. This is Dean McNulty, the Dean of Speed for the Toronto Sun.